Let's talk to Maurice McLeod. He's a vice chair of Race on the Agenda. That's a social policy think tank focused on issues affecting ethnic minorities. He's also a Labour councillor for Battersea, and Battersea is where the US Embassy protests took place over the weekend as well. Good morning to you, Maurice.
Good morning, Julia.
Do you think it was justified for these protests to go ahead, even if they were entirely going to be peaceful, given the pandemic and given the risks from people not social distancing? And B, do you think violence is ever justified in a protest?
Well, on the first question as to whether the protests and demonstrations should have gone ahead. I took part in a local protest here in Tooting, and it was socially distant, it was very respectful, it was very peaceful. We thought we'd have about 30 to 80 people turn up, and we had 1,000 people turn up on Tooting Common. And, absolutely that should have gone ahead. There was nothing... there was no difference to the people gathered there than the people that would normally be gathered on the common having a picnic. Everyone was, within their groups and 2 metres away. That's a perfectly reasonable expression.
Absolutely.
Of the
but in terms of the what we've seen in Whitehall last night, and what we've seen, but even before the violence, and what we've seen in Bristol, there wasn't social distancing, quite clearly not. Do you think the violence is ever justified?
I think violence is I can sometimes understand where the violence comes from the frustration and the anger. I can understand where that comes from. Whether it is ever useful to the cause that people are fighting for, that's a different argument.
Do you think, can I ask, when back a year or two ago, when it looked like my vote as a Brexiteer was going to be ignored and basically democracy was going to be denied to the 70.4 million who voted for Brexit, something I feel incredibly strong about. Do you think when I attended the big rally that took place on the date that we should have left, on the 29th of March 2019, do you think if I and the other people there that day decided, well, you know what, we feel very passionately and strongly about this, our vote has been denied again and again and again, we would have been entitled to turn violent?
Yeah, the question you asked me wasn't... what I said was it was understandable. I didn't say it was justifiable.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Would I understand if you were angry and you did something wrong? Yeah, I would understand why you did that. Would that be justifiable? It's a different question, isn't it? So...
Well, then, could you answer that question? Well, the same question for the protesters is the violence that, again, a minority, we must stress that, a minority of people, a sizable minority, but a minority of people took part in over the weekend. Is that justifiable given the cause?
Well, it's as I say, it's understandable. I'm not saying it's justifiable. I'm saying it's understandable. I'm saying I can understand why those passions, again and again and again, these sorts of things happen, and again, people protest peacefully, they take a knee, they get criticised, they do all sorts of things, and nothing ever happens. So I can understand why the level of frustration got to where it was. Whether that's a useful use of the anger, I would suggest using it politically, but that's
it. In terms of the Black Lives Matter protests, and people wanting to say Black Lives Matter, of course they do, and people wanting to object to police brutality, again, even objected to police brutality happening on the other side of the Atlantic, but yes, we know there have been incidents here in the UK as well. What is the aim of those Black Lives Matter protests? What do people hope to achieve? What specific things do thousands of people going out on a march, what is that actually going to achieve? What do you want to happen?
Well, what we want to happen is really simple. It's racial equality. It's not complicated, Julia. The whole point of the protest and the whole point of people coming out on the streets is to have these conversations. Which is why any talk of the other stuff that happens with the protest is a distraction. So the whole point is that for us to have a look at our society, have a look at why black people in particular, but BAME people in general, fare so poorly in every aspect of our society, particularly the criminal justice system. So this isn't just about America. This is the reason it struck a chord with so many British black people, is that we know that this is a problem for us here too. Maybe not in as extreme ways as it is in America, maybe not with the levels of death and violence that they have in America, but we definitely I'm not innocent from this stuff.
No, but we definitely do have issues, and there's lots of talk of institutionalised racism and like. But a lot of people would look at this march and saying, but black people and ethnic minorities of all kinds do have the same equal rights in this country. It is illegal to act in a racist fashion, to discriminate. It is police brutality is illegal. That is already a crime. A lot of people are wondering, like, what specific measures? Yeah, we all want racial equality. We want everyone to be treated on their merits as a human being, based on their individual, achievements and failings. What specific things do the Black Lives Matter protesters want, other than to raise a fist and shout Black Lives Matter? We know that. What do they actually want that would actually achieve that we haven't already got in law?
So something being in law doesn't mean that it actually happens. So let's have some enforcement of those laws. There are things called equality impact assessments that are supposed to be used whenever something new is brought in that's going to affect a particular community. They're not used, they're not enforced. So let's actually use the laws that we've got. Let's monitor. Let's actually change the way that we police. Let's move. We've seen from the knife crime epidemic that's all over Britain. We've seen that in terms of community policing, it's not working because we've moved away from a community policing model, and the police numbers have been restricted so much that they can basically just drive through. They don't really know the communities that they're policing anymore. All of those sorts of things need highlighting and need changing, and will improve not just the lives of black people, but the lives of all people in our cities, because we want to be policed by consent. There's so many amazing police officers that I work with, as a counsellor. They're really committed to their jobs, but the way that they're informed to police, I'm afraid, doesn't help them sometimes. So highlighting those sorts of issues, absolutely.
All right, Maurice McLeod, thank you very much.